getting started. We're getting started. Waiting for everybody. Might have clicked in early. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Coming on. I'll just wait for a few more people to enter here. Looks like we've got a bunch of people already on. Thank you for joining. Okay. I'll give you guys another couple of seconds here. All right. I think that might be it for now. I'll just do our introductions. Welcome, everybody. My name is Brett Hawke. I am the director of camps and clinics at Fitter and Faster Tour. We have some special guests with us today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that is the forward start, the block start. And there are so many little details that go into having a great start, but there are certainly things that we're going to give you today that you guys can work on, even from where you are at home. And we may even talk to our special guests about some of the drills that they might do around the home that could actually help their start. So welcome, everybody, to the show. We appreciate you being here on a Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to get straight into the introductions here. My first guest is Tucker Dupree. Tucker is a three-time Paralympian. He's a bronze medalist in the 100 and the 50 freestyle from the 2012 London Paralympics, and he currently works for BP. Now, Tucker, I know you won other medals at other Paralympics, but they don't count because they're in backstroke, so we're not talking about backstroke today, all right? Turn your sound on there. There you go. You in? No, you got no sound. Where's your sound at, man? I need some sound on you, Tucker. All right, I'll keep introducing everybody here. Tucker, log off and then log back on. I'll introduce our next guest is Katrina Konopka. Katrina swam at the University of Arizona. She is now currently a professional swimmer and training at UNC. She was part of the 2017 world record-setting 200 medley relay, and she placed 5th in the 50 freestyle at the 2016 Olympic trials. Welcome, Katrina.
Hey, guys. I'm super excited to be here.
All right, thank you. And our last presenter will be Roland Schoeman. Roland is a 4-time Olympian from South Africa. He's a gold medal winner in the 4x100 freestyle relay from the 2004 Olympics. I guess the best thing that he did at the Olympics and at the 2004 Olympics was he beat me in the 50 freestyle in the final, and he won the bronze medal in that event. And I would also credit Roland as being one of the inventors of the modern day track start, not the track start, but the modern day track start. So hopefully Roland will click on here and we'll say welcome. If we can see his, we lost Tucker too. Where you at, Tucker? All right, Katrina, tell us where you're coming from while these guys join us.
Well, right now I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's really nice here today. I went for a nice run before this and just been hanging out in quarantine, working out and getting ready for 2021.
What kind of workouts have you been doing in quarantine?
So actually I've been doing a lot of just kind of like dryland things. So I run 3 times a week. I've actually been doing a lot of yoga. I'm working on becoming a yoga teacher. So that's one of my fun things to do. I've been doing a lot of push-ups, a lot of ab work. Ab work has been really key for me right now.
Awesome. Now, when did you know that you were a sprinter?
I actually didn't know I was a sprinter really until my senior year of high school. So my club team, we did a lot of distance. I swam Mondays were 9 grand Mondays.
Yeah.
We were doing 9,000 yards Mondays. Like I trained a lot of yardage, and my senior year of high school was when I really started like popping off in the shorter events and like the 50 and the 100. That was kind of when my 200 was a little more of a struggle. But
so then you went to college at Arizona, and who helped you work on your track start there?
Oh, so I was really lucky. So when I was at Arizona, I trained with Rick DeMont, and I guess he coached probably Roland way back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually really good friends with Matt Grievers and Brad Tandy, and we worked on starts all the time together. And definitely had my fair share of belly flops with them, but
Yeah.
it's been really cool to learn starts with them.
Awesome. All right, I think Roland might be jumping on, hopefully. Let me hit this panic button here. See what this does. Okay, we're back there. I know we still don't have Roland or Tucker with us, huh? Getting there. Oh, the joys of technology, hey?
All right, I think I'm back.
Oh, Tucker, you are back.
Hey.
For the win.
Tucker!
What's up? Sorry about that. That was I had to pull, the same tactic and go next to the router. So I was just trying to get on, everyone else's level.
I think every person in America is on the internet right now.
It's true. It's very true.
So, Tucker, tell us about yourself real quick.
Yeah, so 3-time Paralympian, 4-time Paralympic medalist, but according to Brett, 2 of those medals do count today. And then, freestyle backstroke butterfly are my jam. So super pumped to start talking about some track starts, some jumping, all the fun parts of swimming.
So how did you first initially start working on your track start? How did you know what to do, Tucker, and how to improve it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was, one, breaking it down in the most simplistic way possible. I think that swimming is one of the sports that has, like a lot of sports, has a lot of moving pieces. But outside of that, the more simplistic I could be coached, the better off I was. So I think the biggest thing for me was just finding out just how everything worked together. Like what I was doing in the weight room was complementing what I was doing in the pool, and like making sure that I was just working on one piece of it at a time and then collectively bringing it all together. But I think that's the biggest thing about our sport that can get lost is getting it over complicated. And just trying to bring it back down and making it something that you can digest. So I think that's the biggest thing for me that I really wanted to look at and really get to that level of, what am I doing? What's the objective? What am I trying to accomplish? And just practice. It can't be just a once a year at the end of the year before your championship meet. It's got to be all the time. You're improving every part of the race.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I think the two main objectives really your reaction time, how quickly you can react. Obviously, you don't want to sit on the block. No matter how good your technique is, if you're just sitting there waiting, that's not going to be any good. So, at which you carry yourself off the block and into the water, the angle of entry and those sorts of things. But the way that you carry your speed from the block to the water through the breakout, I think, is the ultimate objective, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to get into a couple of key components here. I don't know where Roland is, man. There's Roland.
Oh,
Hey.
waiting for the introduction.
We're back, man. Where have you been?
I've been waiting for you to introduce me. I thought it was we wait for the introduction, then we come on. I'm just misunderstanding from my part.
Oh, that's all right. I thought you was like Willy Wonka and you just lost in the universe somewhere.
I thought you forgot about me.
No. I actually did your introduction. So it was must have been while you're off air or something.
Darn it. All right. Well, sorry.
Anyway, Roland, tell us about yourself real quick.
Roland Schoeman, South African. Katrina, I mean, back in the day of being coached by Rick, you make it sound like I'm half ancient. It wasn't that long ago. But went to University of Arizona, swam there, and I think when I started swimming, I had this idea and this belief that what people were doing off the blocks just wasn't working. It was working in a regard, but I don't know if we were maximizing our speed off the blocks. I don't know if we were maximizing the velocity we were taking into the water. So I was trying to, revolutionize a new starting technique, getting off the blocks, really using my arms to couple my energy, as well as working on the water dolphin kicks and being able to carry that on the breakout. So, the knowledge we have right now about a start, we might not have the same sort of knowledge in 5 years. I sort of wanted to do that back in the day, as Katrina said, so it was about finding a new way to do things. And I think if we keep on looking at things the exact same way with the exact same methodology, we're not looking to get better. So we have to continue to explore different avenues of how to get off the blocks faster, how to enter the water better, more efficiently, and carry that momentum just better.
Well, one of the things we're all doing right now is figuring out how to do those things on land, because it's the only way we can practice right now. So we've got to be creative. We've got to be inventive. I actually saw Katrina doing some exercises on Instagram today in just getting ready for her presentation. But she was showing us some great land exercises that you can do. So certainly want to talk about those. I did say, Roland, in your introduction that you were one of the inventors of the modern day track start, not the track start itself, but certainly the modern day. And you were one of the first people, if not the first, to do some things that pretty much everybody's doing off the block these days. And we kind of want to talk about that as we go. But I did want to start with just the setup on the block. I think it's important for all of us to have a look at a picture of Roland himself, because most people are setting up exactly the same way. And I wanted to at least talk through the setup and what people need to be doing on the block itself. Okay, so let's have a look here at some slides. I think I have some photographs of you, Roland, specifically. There's one of Peter Halota. Peter is from Hungary, and then Roland is here with the RSA cap on. I'll get each of you just to pinpoint something, and I'll get you to talk specifically. Roland, I'll ask you to talk about your hips. What are you doing with your hips in this photo?
I'm trying to keep my hips a little higher than most people normally have. And I think when we look at people on the starting block, a lot of times they don't have their hip height high enough, but that's almost always as a function of having really, really tight hamstrings. So a lot of coaches sort of try to emphasize high hips on the block without understanding that there may be some sort of restriction in their hamstring or their body that's preventing them from being in that position. For me, I just try to have my hips be as level as possible and maintain that hip height throughout the start. Yeah,
great. Tucker, I want you to talk about the legs here and what you would do, what people are doing in the track start with their legs, and also give us a drill that you do to help set up where you put your feet. I know that you've got some drills that you do at clinics that I like.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I really emphasize on a track start is, making sure that you're using both feet. I think that is something that we get lost on just from the fact that our feet are staggered. So a lot of people lean into that front foot whenever you have both. Most athletes have, perfect two good legs. Let's use them. So I use a measurement tool that comes to practice every day. And you have two of them, which is your hand. And I like to set my feet up with both of them up front and then slide the foot straight back. And then I use this measuring tool to really measure that width out just because you're trying to get the best foundation possible to jump off of. So it's kind of an easy, just simplistic way of just slide your foot straight back rather than just arbitrarily putting your foot wherever you want behind you. So really just making sure that foot placement isn't too far back behind the front foot, just because if you slid that foot forward, it would be really hard to get a good jump off of feet if you had them together like this. So just making sure that you're holding that good foundation where if you stood straight up with your feet staggered like that, you wouldn't be top heavy. So just having that good foundation to have the ability to jump off that back foot as well as the front foot.
Yeah. And you can see in this photograph, Roland has a wedge and Peter has a block without a wedge. So it doesn't matter with the wedge or without the wedge. The back foot is positioned in a very similar position. It's on the ball of the foot. Roland, explain to us why it's better to just kind of be on the ball of your foot and the back foot.
I think, amongst other things, the Japanese did a study some time ago when the wedges came out, and they tried to just determine where the best foot placement would be on the wedge. If do you want it on the ball of your feet? Do you want it to be completely flat-footed? And they sort of determined through all the studies that it was better to be on the ball of their feet. And I think that's got to do a lot with the stretch reflex. So as soon as you push,
Yeah.
there is a reflex action that takes place in the calf muscle, and that helps you be a bit more explosive. If you're going to be really, really flat-footed, I don't necessarily think you're going to have that same stretch reflex action that is going to be taking place. There will be some, but I don't know if it's going to be as effective as if you were to really be on the balls of your feet.
Yeah. Katrina, talk to us about the arms here. In both photographs, the arms look like they're very engaged, very locked in. What are some of the things that you're thinking about with your arms?
So when I'm on the blocks, the first thing I like to think about with my arms is keeping them, they're engaged, but they're not like flexed and just locked in tight. Like if they're ready to explode, it's like a spring and those are the first things that I'm going to use. Another thing I like to point out is that their thumbs are on top. They aren't gripping the block like this with their thumbs. Their thumbs are flat.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the really important things is that you're not balancing on those thumbs. It'll actually give you less power than if you're pulling something, you want to pull with all of your fingers, not just 4 of your fingers.
Sure. And you can tell that sometimes I see people with their palms down flat on the block. Why is that something we want to avoid, Katrina?
If your palms are flat, you're not going to get as much power as if you were like, think about throwing a ball. If you're throwing a ball with your palms like this, it's not going to be as powerful as if you're using your whole entire hand going forward. And that's the way you want your motion to go.
Okay, good. Tucker, talk to us about head position, because in this photo I can see Roland has the head position that I'd like to teach, and it looks like Peter's head's a little higher, which is then having an effect on his hips. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we see a lot at our clinics is a lot of kids will grab the block, and I always tell them, I'm like, you are not a slingshot. And we see this all the time where they'll grab the front of the blocks and like kind of pull back. I really like to use the analogy of the front of the blocks is the starting line. You wouldn't go behind the starting line to then go over it after they say go. So I really try and focus on keeping your head like as close to over the starting line as possible and looking down at the pool, just because, again, we're trying to keep all of our energy going forward. So just kind of like keeping that momentum of we're trying to launch ourselves from here into the water as fast and as, efficiently as possible. Yeah.
Roland, is there anything else about the just the setup here that you can tell us?
I think just in terms of head position, I've sort of played around with both, having my head slightly more tucked, be a little bit more neutral, as well as looking up. And I felt that when you see swimmers really throw their heads up, a guy like Brad Tandy, a guy like Caleb Dressel, it's far more in a neutral position. If you're not going to be using your head as much, maybe it's a little bit better to be looking slightly up. But once again, it's something that's been trial and error, trying to repeat over and over and over, and trying to find what is most natural. I think if you can't get into a position like that on the blocks, determine why it is. Do you have tight hamstrings? Do you have another impingement that maybe that you haven't identified yet? But these are models that we believe work, and if you can try and replicate them on your or into onto a block again, I mean, it's something you can even practice on dry land right now.
Yeah, and one thing I want to emphasize is once you've got that position set up and you're comfortable on the block, you've got your legs engaged, you've got your arms engaged, and you're in a set position, you want all the muscles to react collectively together when the starting sound goes, right? So you want to basically pull on the block, and you also want to push with your legs at the same time and activate every single muscle in your body at the same time, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's key, because a lot of the times we'll see people, they'll move their hands first or they'll lift their head first. And so one of their body parts is moving before the rest of it. And so it's almost like I have to move my head up now I'm going to move my body. Or I lift my arms, then I use my legs. Or it's I use my legs, and then right at the end, I throw my arms. So it seems like the timing is all out with the way that they're starting. So it's important that everything moves together. We'll go into a couple of more slides here that you showed us, Roland, and we can go on to what's next. Okay, so do you want to just roll through some of these photos? Is that what you wanted me to do here, Roland? Where are you? You there, Roland?
Brett, I seem to have lost you guys.
We can hear you.
We can see you and hear you. You look beautiful.
Says that to everyone.
Okay, so Katrina, tell me, what has Adam done with his body in this photo?
Well, I think one of the really important things that he's doing is he has his front foot is at his front knee is at like a 90-degree angle. It's not completely straight. It's not underbent. It's almost perpendicular to the water, or parallel to the water. And another thing that you should notice about his back foot is that it's not pushing downward. It looks like it's almost kicking up instead of dragging down to meet the bottom foot. He's going to bring his front foot up to meet that back foot. And then I guess the other thing that I think is really good about the way his start is how his hips are still high, and then his arms. If you notice, his arms are thrown back next to his body instead of being already like up in a streamline. He was able to use those arms to throw himself forward instead of just kind of leave them up in a streamline.
Yes, that's true.
Is this from the art classes you've been taking, Brett?
You like that, Tucker?
I don't know if you've been doing,
That's my little dummy. Yeah. But I like what you said there about the legs, Katrina. I think it's important that as you push off the block here, you never want the top leg, which is the leg that is at the back on the wedge, it's going to kick up. Okay. You never want that leg to come back down, because what ends up happening is you enter the water like this and you end up slapping your leg. So you always want this front leg, which was on the front, you want that to kick back and then meet the back leg, so that now you hit this perfect entry. So it's always front leg kicks up to meet the back leg. It's never a back leg kicks down. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's why I added that photo. Sorry, for some reason my sound got cut off. But I think for somebody as explosive and powerful as Adam Peaty is, and his back legs are particularly strong, asset for him at this point in time. And you can see it in the photos. We can see it in videos where he's coming off the blocks. He does have more of that, I guess more of a pike when he enters. Exactly as you're explaining now, his top leg comes down to meet his front leg, as opposed to maybe having more of a straight entry.
Yeah, exactly. So Adam still has things that he needs to work on, even though he's world record holder, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's go then. That's him there again. Is there anything in that photo that you guys are seeing? It's kind of the same thing where that back leg looks like it dropped.
Same thing for me. Right, exactly. I mean, you can see his toes are over the front of the block, which is great. He has a good position of his back foot on the block, pulling his arms, sort of looking forward. But if you compare it to the other slides that I sent, which you'll see different leg positions or different back leg position. And to me, that's not the optimal position to be in at this point in time for a top world-class swimmer. Yeah,
let's have a look at some more. Who's this one? This is Joseph Schooling, isn't it?
That's Joseph Schooling. So Yeah, he's really explosive off the blocks as well. Does a lot right, pulling with his arms, head going up. But you can see his back leg there is a little bit higher than say somebody like Adam Peters is.
Yeah. Katrina, what are you doing with your arms? It looks like a lot of people are bending at the elbow. Can you tell us what you're doing with your arms?
So I personally, I also bend at my elbow. I know someone like Brad Tandy, he has the shoulder flexibility to keep his arms entirely straight to get all the way around. But I think if you're going to bend your elbows, one of the important things to remember is not to, I like to call it my pterodactyl start, because every so often you don't want to drag your arms in front of your body. You want to get your elbows back behind and get nice and high over the top.
Yeah. Okay. Tucker, what are you doing with your arms when you come off the block?
So when I was like looking at a lot of like the video of my start as well, the biggest thing for me was I was the type that was going to throw my arms back and then like try and get them, like bring them up as fast as possible just to make sure that I wasn't landing on my forearms. And I think that's like the biggest thing for me is like whenever you're bringing those back up, it's really how fast can you get back into that streamline to like make sure that trajectory is still getting that clean entry. Because I found that if I was like trying to sneak my arms up front like this, it was just, I was landing on my forearms every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things I'm noticing in these photos, and you guys can pay attention to this as we're going, all the top athletes look like they're diving directly forward. They're not going up their dive, and they're certainly not, shooting down. It looks like they're diving more, it's almost like diving straight at the flags. Would that be correct, Roland?
I think so. And I think if you were to take slow motion video, a lot of what the upper body's doing and the head is doing is kind of following the line that their hips are at. So when you're setting your hips slightly higher, the idea is to, go out a little bit more horizontally. And ultimately the body is going to follow what the head does, the head and the arms. So if you're going to be, diving and putting your head down, far more likely to be far steeper than if you were to look up and throw your hands out. I mean, then you obviously inversely you'd be a little bit more flat when you do enter the water.
Sure. Okay. Let's have a look at the next photo here. I think, is this maybe Simone Manuel, is it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Why did you want this one in here? What were you looking at here?
I want to, a lot of times people, athletes, guys, girls will look at my start or Brad Tandy's start or Caleb's start, and they think it's something that's a function of being a male, having the power. But I wanted to show that even females have the ability to get their back leg up, and it doesn't always require as much power as one would think. It's about being able to really get into a routine of just almost throwing your back leg up more than anything else. And the moment of aha when you take a kid through the drill of throwing the back leg up, and then they replicate that on the block, and all of a sudden, like they're
we're struggling with Roland.
So can I call something out on this as well?
Yes, please.
So I think one of the best things that I have learned just as a coach, as well as like, doing a lot of fitter, faster clinics is we get paired up as clinicians with athletes that, you have never met before, and you get to learn other like just ideas and different things from, different clinicians that you start to add into your repertoire. And something that I stole from Glenn.
Lost everyone.
Something that I learned from Glenn, because I did a clinic with him, I think last year, was he had a drill that was called like Cactus Drill. And I'd never seen that before, where it was literally like you stand here, you like pinch your shoulder blades back, you like stand in like a staggered start position, you squat down, you hinge at the hips, and you jump and shoot your hands forward into your dive. And I was just like, again, almost like a very aha moment of, you can see Simone right here, like she's literally like bringing those hands up into that. I don't know if this is
working or where everybody else has disappeared to, but I think
Roland,
talk through this.
Roland, stop.
If you look at just the positioning, whether you're a male or a female,
it's fine. Let him roll. It's good.
A lot of similarities and things that can be really well replicated. And it's just something that takes a a certain amount of time to really get into. The start was something that I dedicated time to every single day. It wasn't a question of I would practice it only when we were doing starts or race specific sets. It was something I'd take 20-30 minutes after every single training session to really come up with a feel.
Yeah. Okay. So Katrina, this is something like what you talked about with Brad Tandy, right? Like the flexibility in the shoulders.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, is that? That's Caleb Dressel.
That's Caleb Dressel, yeah.
Yeah. So like his shoulders are obviously very flexible, and so you can see how he's able to use he's almost able to keep his arms entirely straight while he's bringing them back around the front. And I mean, that's not obviously something that everyone can do. I personally can't even do it myself. But I think it's really just about finding where you're going to have that speed to get your arms back to the front and how you can best use the pull off the front.
Yeah, sure. Okay. A very gifted athlete. But if you look at the photos that we've presented so far, pretty much everybody looks very similar coming off the block. They may be doing something slightly different with their arms, but their legs are all doing the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. So again, the setup, the way that you set up is there are similarities across the board that everybody's using the same things. Okay, the high hip, the legs, the arms. All the stuff that we talked about. And then obviously coming off the block, you can see that every athlete is kicking that back leg up, and then that front leg will come and join it at the back. So, and they're all diving forward. So everybody's doing very similar things here. Let's have a look. I think this one is Kate Campbell. Let's minimize you guys a little bit. Now, Kate does something a little bit different. She brings her hands forward at the start, and that's something that we really want to avoid. And you can see that Kate is almost getting left on the block here. Her reaction is very slow because she's not utilizing her arms at all, and this is a much slower way to come off the block. Are you there, Roland?
Yeah. Sorry, for some reason the sound keeps on disappearing, but I'm here.
Yeah, talk to us about this one.
So it's actually Kate and Bronte Campbell right next to each other. And, I mean, everybody would consider Kate as a monster, just an incredibly gifted swimmer. But once again, she's just not really great at getting off the blocks. So while she could be, world champion, world record holder, etc., there are still components that she needs to improve at as well. You can see her sister next to her, maybe a little bit more explosive, driving that back leg up. Arms are shooting forward, so she obviously utilizes the arm really better off the blocks than her sister does. But Kate, you can just see just not driving with the back leg very, very well, and for whatever reason, she's decided not to pull with the arms. Maybe it's just not really an emphasis for them or something they feel they can attain. But definitely room for improvement in that regard, because she swims everybody down, in the greater scheme of things. And if she were to dedicate, in my belief, couple days a week for the next 6 months, she'd be significantly better and more powerful off the blocks.
Yeah. And now we're going into more of that entry here. Tucker, talk to us about the entry.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of that is really, I guess I've heard just so many analogies of, putting a noodle out a little further, or there's like a little, hole that you're trying to dive into. And I think the best, starts that you see is actually after the swimmer is completely submerged, and you can tell how clean the entry is off of the splash, right? So if you see very little splash, that means they went in clean or they went in too high. So I think it's just really more about making sure you're hitting that pocket to where when your trajectory goes in, you have the ability to bring that back down to that first dolphin kick is like what I've personally seen the most successful with. But I don't know. I personally would think about that little like ring that I was trying to like dive into. That was always like my mental like visualization for this.
Yeah. Katrina, is there anything you think about when you're entering the pool?
So actually, right before all of the quarantine has started, this was something that I was really working on. And one of the things that my coach was having me do was to, as soon as I got on the blocks, was to pick a spot. And I would know that's where I'm hitting the water every time, because I would either have a hard time, I would dive too short and then end up being a little bit too deep going in. But if I picked that spot that's a little bit further than you think you should go, I was having a really good time getting through that perfect hole every time. And it really helped my start a lot. So I always that's the first thing I do when I get on the blocks. I look out at the pool and I pick my spot.
Yeah. I don't know. This might be Pernille Bloom, is it? Closest to us here. One of the things.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know who's in the pink, but let's have a look at the girl in the pink, because she's already entered the water, so her reaction time is great. She's come off the block at a great angle. Her hands have obviously entered. Her head is about to enter. And then you want the hips to follow into the same entry hole, and then the knees, and then the feet slide in. So basically the entry hole that she started to obtain here, you want the whole body to slide into that same entry hole. Okay, so if I take my little dummy here.
I'm just glad you guys have the same haircut.
Yes, exactly. Well, let me up this presentation. All right, I gotta get my dummy. His feet are all messed up. So basically, if this little sucker was going to enter the water, okay, you want the body to follow that same entry hole. Okay, you obviously don't want the legs to slap at the back and create a massive entry hole here, because it's going to slow you down. So, is that something that you think about, Roland? Is the size of your entry hole as you're sliding through the water? I think we lost Roland again.
Well, at least he's smiling in his frozen picture this time.
I always had a lot of problems with my entry because my biceps were so big.
Oh yeah. Put those little things down.
Dupree, Tucker, me and you are going to race one day. Hey,
I'm ready.
Race is on. All right, let's go to the videos. Let's have a look at some videos here. Let's go to Katrina first. Let's watch Katrina. All right. Check this out. Oh, look at that entry hole.
I got the line, the perfect line. And that was actually the day that I was working on picking my hole so if you noticed when I got on the blocks, I was standing straight up. I had picked my spot. I knew it was a little bit past our second tee, and that was where my whole body was going into the water.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Nice stuff. Let's have a look at it.
That was good.
Oh, great entry. And you carry your speed all the way through your breakout. I love that. Let's watch that again.
That was good.
Excellent. Great speed. I want to try and stop this video right on your setup when they say take your mark, and we can see that it doesn't matter male or female. Everybody's doing the same thing on the setup, right?
Yeah, I would definitely. I think so. For me personally, one of my big things.
There. Okay. Talk to us.
So I think for me personally, one of the big things when I'm doing my start that I make sure that I have to focus on is not letting my chest cave onto that top knee. So it's a lot more comfortable because you can get your hips high if you cave in on yourself, but you lose some of that arm power.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sick. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm making sure that my front knee is super bent.
Okay.
And that's also one of the things that I struggle with because I'm pretty flexible, so I can hyperextend my front knee. And that allows me to get my hips high, but it's not as powerful as if you're jumping. You want to think about you're going to bend your knees instead of jump with straight knees.
Yeah, sure. Tucker, is there anything else you can see there that she's doing really well?
Of course, it's perfection is how we're looking at it. I think the biggest thing is what she just, to kind of touch on that, is it all stems back to the simplicity of jump, right? Like, I think that's something that you can't jump when your legs are locked out. It's just like that simple, right? If your legs are like completely here, like if you're standing like stiff, I'm like, you should be on the blocks, like comfortable, like ready to launch yourself as fast as you can using both of your feet forward. So it's like, I think it's just, there's a lot of things that, can start to get in your head, but just like making sure, like you said, she's focusing on like this checklist in her head. She's, I'm going there. I'm going to make sure my like hips are where they need to be here. Like check, ready, go. It's like that mental, that way, whenever, it's time to race and you're on the biggest, meet of your life, it's autopilot. Like it's clicking. It feels right. You know where you're going with it, but you're not going to do that if you don't practice it. So that's why I'm just like all of those things, and having that time where you're like, able to take after practice and say, hey, can you film this for a second? Watch it back, like it's just both legs are engaged, jumping. It's just, it's great. I love it.
That's a good point that you make there. Katrina, would you agree that it takes time and energy and, it's probably an extra on the training that you're already doing, right? Like it looked to me there that you're by yourself, so you're spending hours perfecting your start, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely spending some extra time after workouts and all of that, getting my start right. So I've been really lucky to have coaches that are willing to take some extra time. Like I'm sure most coaches will be more than happy if you ask, hey, can I spend an extra 10 minutes on my start? If you get 2 or 3 off the blocks every day, you're going to get that much better at them, regardless of if they're perfect or not. Yeah.
And we all have this tool here.
I was just about to grab this and say that.
We all have the slow motion function, I've got the 3 cameras, so I'm pretty high tech.
Bougie.
Fancy.
Let's have a look at Roland's start. I'm hoping he can come back into the room here. He seems to be having some major issues out in Phoenix, Arizona right now.
I think that another like touch point on that, Brett, is like, some people might not have that ability to have an extra 10 minutes after practice because the next group's getting in or whatever that is. But, being a student of the sport and finding those times, most athletes that I know that are at that elite level, they're coming to practice early, they're doing different things, but going to the pool on a Sunday it's allowed, like taking that time to get that extra edge on, practicing stuff, and, take your parents with you to the pool, if you're not able to drive, and get them to record you. Like you have access to this, and I think making sure you utilize that tool is it's huge.
I mean, I would say I use film to learn everything. I've used film to learn how to fix my breath, my start for sure. That's one of the best tools, I think, for starts. It's definitely watching film.
I think we are you there, Roland, or we lost you completely, huh?
No, I'm here finally.
What's going on? Good. We're about to watch your start,
guys.
Through it. Let's have a look at this thing.
Take your mark. Go.
Oh, nice. Slow-mo. Okay. Let's try it again. Where we go? Back here. No. Let's try this again. All right. So once we look at it, Roland, talk us through it real quick.
Take your mark. Go.
I think we may have lost.
Oh,
there you are.
I mean, the start has been an evolutionary process for me.
Yeah. You there?
You're good.
I'm going to get Tucker. Tucker, I'm going to get you to talk about this real quick. I'm going to talk to Roland offline real quick.
Take your mark.
So I think, like,
Go.
I mean, the fact that he's getting his hands around that fast and he's already in one of the tightest streamlines possible before he enters the water is just insane.
Brett.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think, like, that's obviously, you know, the biggest piece is like we're trying to get in. You want to be
Take your
rigid.
mark.
You want to make sure that you're like tight. I wish you could pause it because there's like right there is where it's like from his fingertips to his toes. It's literally like you could put like a rod like straight through him. That is like your body's the vessel, right? So it's like you're trying to make sure that it's as rigid as possible as it goes in, and I think it's
Take your mark.
legit.
Go.
Yeah, I just paused it on that action, and then you watch his back foot. See, it kicks up, and then you watch his front foot come to his back foot right there. So his back foot stays high, and his front foot joins that back foot, and that's really the key to getting in that
Take your mark.
entry.
Take your mark. Go.
Right. Ooh. Very, very explosive. Okay, good. Let's have a look at one of the starts, Katrina, that you had said somebody that you'd worked with is Brad Tandy. Talk to us about some of the things that he had worked on once we have a look at this. Very explosive.
It's
So-
wild.
I know for Brad, one of the big things that he would always talk about with all of us is getting that back foot up. That's the main focus of his start, is making sure he uses his back foot.
Oh, yeah.
So like in this one, he doesn't even have a wedge, and you can see how his back foot is almost touching those flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brett, do you notice though, like his like body's like piking like right as he hits the water, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely a little bit different. I wouldn't necessarily teach it that way. I don't like to pike as much as he does. It's obviously effective for him.
Like right about
there, he kind of bends, which most people can bend there, and then
but it's
then he'll
that
pike
right
a
there.
little bit.
Like he's
Yeah,
literally like this.
Yeah, but then he seems to get his legs up and through right at the end. I'll try and stop the video right as his legs enter as well. Let me see if I can stop it right on entry. Yeah, he kind of lets his legs, he does get them to slide in. He doesn't drop them too much,
Yeah.
So he does a pretty good job there, getting his legs to slide. I told Roland, you still there, Roland?
I'm here at points.
Yeah, you're in and out. What's going on out in Phoenix, man? They're messing with your Wi-Fi.
I don't know, man. If the zombies are out there, I'll let you know. They're coming your way.
Zombie apocalypse, that's for sure. All right, I just wanted to finish here. We watched some video. I want to finish with a couple of drills, and I've got some slides here from USA Swimming. And I just want us to maybe have a look at these, and we can talk about these drills. I'm going to move through this presentation real quick. I want to go to the drill section. Let's have a look at the drills. Okay, so this is part of the drill progression that I like to do at clinics, and I think this is Simone Manuel here again. Again, this is from USA Swimming, and it's a drill progression that you guys can do. So Simone here is basically got 2 feet up in the front photo, and then she's got a very flat back. She's in a streamlined position with her arms, and she's just going to launch herself from that position. In the middle photo, she's gone to a track start. And she's in, again, her back is very, very flat. And then in the third photo here, the one on the right, Tucker, you can see here, that's more of like what you had talked about in that, what did you call that position?
Cactus drill.
Cactus, okay.
And I think that's like exactly, so it's like you have this motion where you're here, you hinge at your hips and keep that flat back. And then when you jump, it like literally just like shoot it all forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you could do a variation. So I do this to practice getting my toes together on land, even before I'll get on the blocks. So I start in the cactus position, just standing straight up with my feet spread apart like a track start. And I jump and get my toes and work on touching my toes together before I land.
Nice. Maybe you can show us. Let's do this. Let's do a little demonstration here. Is there a way that you can stand and show us?
I'm gonna have to. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, cool. I had to disconnect my headphones there. All right. Let's see. Can we do this?
Yep.
All right.
Looks good.
Be back a little more. All about getting creative.
Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Perfect. Okay. My apartment. So I start with my feet in the track start position, cactus arms, hold my knees bent straight across, and then I just shoot and make sure I touch my toes together every time.
Oh, okay.
And so that was a little drill that Mark taught me because I was having a hard time getting my toes together.
Nice.
You could actually even do that as part of your training right now while you're on land. If we don't have a pool.
What were some of the ones that you were doing on your Instagram today?
So today I was doing, so I had a bench.
Yeah.
And I was doing just some seated squat jumps into a streamline where I was working on getting that tight streamline, my hands up into that perfect position.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Roland, you got any drills that you do on land that you can share with us?
I was gonna say it's a good thing you got high ceilings. If I did that in my place, it'd be a broken hand.
Same. I was like, man, that's not happening in my house.
Or you're really, really short. It's either high ceilings or you're really short.
She's 4'7".
Hey.
Yeah, I think now, given given the situation we're in, if you're trying to do anything that's broad jumping, bounding, single leg jumps, any way to get explosive moving forward, it's a good way to do it. So whether you're doing cactus into jumps, whether you are doing bounding consecutively and trying to get better, set benchmarks, okay, measure out, say, 6 broad jumps continuously. How far can you get this week? Then practice a couple, just practice sprinting on, as in running, not in the swimming pool. But then next week, practice or do another 6 and see how far you get. And each week, get a little bit. So if you keep on improving the broad jumps and your athleticism, it's going to transfer directly when we're able to get back into the swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go to chat real quick and we'll see if anyone has any questions for us. Is the chat still on? Let's enable the chat. Let's go to chat. Let's see who's got questions for us. Any questions? Joshua Tom, shout out. Just give some shout outs as you see them. Fraser Scott. All right. Kate Elias, shout out.
Oh, I saw a question in there. What were some good hamstring stretches?
Yeah. What do you do for your hamstring stretches?
Oh, man. Obviously, before workouts or before training, you want to be able to, it's more dynamic. So I think the best thing is, as opposed to me
don't hurt yourself, Brett. That's literally like, this is not going to end well.
Wow.
Do not try this at home.
Literally, please.
I only do bicep curls. You can tell. That's all I do.
That's all you do.
Oh, God. I think the best thing to do is, because of the resources we have available at our hands, is to go to YouTube and type in hamstring stretches. And that'll give you, instead of me spending the next 5 minutes trying to, detail and maybe shift my camera and talk to you about it, if you can go and spend some time on YouTube, which is really going to be the most efficient way to do it, and find ways to, a hamstring stretching, hamstring lengthening. It's going to probably be a combination of stretching as well as some sort of myofascial release is how it's going to, you're going to find a way to lengthen and strengthen and be aware, as you see in Brett's condition, no breaths were hurt in the making of the Instagram live video.
Oh my God!
If you haven't done it in a while, you could tear something. So
I did. I think I did. Yeah, it's going to be a long weekend. Hey,
well, at least your arms are good. At least your arms are good.
Tell us, what is something you work on for reaction time? Anything they can do at home?
It's perfect. So we used to do this a lot with getting closer to like championship meets, but I think it's very applicable to now is having that moment of we would sit on our club team in like a circle. And the coach would sit in the middle and he'd say, like, take your mark. And everyone, like, go down to a start. And then he would, like, start us. And then we would, like, try and clap as fast as we could to that reaction time. And, yeah, and I know it sounds, like, cheesy, but it's that, that moment of, flipping that switch from here to, like, how fast can I get it up to, like, go. And if you have the ability to be outside, you could do this on your front lawn, right? You could take, a Bluetooth speaker and dial up a YouTube video of a swim meet and just hear that reaction and see how far you could jump like from a started position in these setup areas that, we've been talking about for this, this webinar, and having that ability to practice those reaction times, get them better, and just really get in that mental space of what it's going to feel like whenever we get back to the pool.
So
Katrina, you have anything?
So we used to do this with Rick DeMont. This was a lot of fun. It was kind of a team building exercise too. So have you guys ever played the slap game where you would stand like this? You'd have a partner and they would put their hands on top of you and you had to try to flip on top.
Yeah, I did one where it was like that one.
Oh, yeah.
You would have a partner and you would stand there and then, and then when they were
here, I'll be your hands. I'll put my hands on top. I'm ready.
Yeah, they're ready. Like, whenever you're ready,
You missed me.
flip on top of them, and they had to pull their hands away before you could whack them. So like,
just make sure you wash your hands before you do that.
Yeah. Now, we could do one as well where you have a coin on your hand and they had to try and grab the coin off before you close your hand.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Anything else, Roland?
Yeah, I think if you practice social distancing, you can have somebody stand responsibly behind you. And imagine I would be facing a wall and I'm standing about 6 feet away from the wall and somebody throws a tennis ball over my head and I have to react to not only to my sight, to see exactly where the ball is coming into my, into my peripheral view, but then as it bounces off the wall, I have to try and reach out and grab it. And you can do that with one ball or two balls, and then have to try and grab both balls before they fall on the ground. So it really is, use your own creativity in ways that, are exciting.
Yeah, so you guys should all be practicing your reaction time while you're at home. There's many different things to do. So listen, I want to thank you guys for being here with us today. Katrina, Tucker, and Roland, thank you very much for your time. It's been awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about the zombies and the technical difficulties.
Well, hopefully we can get back to doing some clinics here soon together, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, you guys keep
Brett.
working on your starts. Listen, Fitter and Faster is coming back soon as we're allowed, which is going to be very, very shortly. And in the meantime, go to fitterandfaster.com. You can catch some previous webinars and some future webinars that are coming up. Lots of great information. Amazing videos that we have up as well. So a lot of things to do to get better still and improve your swimming while we're out of the water. And it's not going to be too much longer before we're back in this stuff. Looking forward to seeing everybody again. Thanks for being here. Take care, everybody.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.